ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितमेन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्यनामिने गौरतिसे नमः। नमो नमो अनिरुद्धाय ऋषिकेशेन्द्रियात्मने नमः परमहंसाय पूर्णाय निवृत्तात्मने स्वर्गपवर्गद्वाराय नित्यं शुचिसदे नमः नमः हिरण्यवीर्याय चातुर्होत्राय तान्तवे। Today is the 19th of March, 2015, and we are gathered here to share the glories of Sri Harinam, the dialogue between Srila Haridas Thakur, the Namacharya, or the designated Acharya, an authority on the chanting of the holy names, and Sriman Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the personality of Godhead himself. So the previous sessions, or specifically the session we had on Monday, we were focused on understanding the very special nature of the holy names, as opposed to the other processes of deliverance. The very special nature of the holy names is that in the other processes, there is a process and there is a goal. But in the case of the Yuga Dharma, which is the glorification of the holy names in the age of Kali as a means of deliverance, the means and the end are the same. It's non-different, which is very special. The means and the end are the same, which is non-different. Chanting is the means, and chanting the pure name is the goal. Chanting the pure name and experiencing Krishna Prema is the goal. It's non-different, which is very special. We also looked at the fact that the holy names are original. They're original in the sense that they are the actual seed or the source of Rupa, which is the eternal form. They are the source of revealing Guna, which is the eternal qualities or the transcendental spiritual qualities. They're also ultimately the source of revealing Leela, which is a combination of Nama, Rupa, and Guna. All three put together as Leela. And the holy names and the chanting and the process of chanting the Mahamantra is so potent that we also realize our eternal form. We realize our eternal name, form, qualities, and specific seva, which is a part of the divine realm, or the specific seva in Sri Golokadam. It reveals our nature. It also reveals the nature of Krishna. So both of these are revealed by the holy names alone. In other words, the holy names is the seed, and everything is contained within the holy names. Nijasarva Shaktihi. One need not adopt any other process other than surrendering to proper chanting of the holy names, and it is the simplest and most appropriate form to prosecute the Yuga Dharma. Simplest. It has been strategized based on our inabilities, our weaknesses. It has been strategized based on the complexity of the environment. It has been strategized based on the amount of time that's available. All of these have been accounted for. And the Lord has been so merciful that He has only covered the holy name with a very slight covering. So, with proper effort and mercy from the acharyas, from the parampara, one is able to uncover it even within one lifetime. There was this instance when someone approached Srila Prabhupada and asked him How long will it be for me to go back to Godhead or to attain pure devotional service? And Srila Prabhupada said, this very moment, if you have faith in what I say, you will be delivered. So the point we want to make is the amount of kripa which has been made available, the mercy that's been made available to complement our weaknesses is exemplary. It is actually disproportionate, is the right word. So let us talk a little bit about understanding the nature of the goal further. In Goloka Vrindavan, one need not practice any sadhana, isn't it? Why? Because it is the natural condition. The jiva is pure, the holy names are pure, so there should be nothing artificial between the two. So in an environment like the spiritual sky, there's really nothing artificial. So there's really no need for anyone to endeavor to have Krishna Prema in the village of Vrindavan. Everyone, including the creepers, the trees, everyone is imbued and infused with the quality of Krishna Prema or love of Godhead, love of Krishna. They will not be calling upon the name of Krishna inattentively. They will not be distracted in their seva. The mothers who cook do not cook for their children. They cook for Krishna. They know the children are going to pack and then going to take the edibles, the prasadam for Krishna. So they cook keeping Krishna in mind. The cows feed their own calves, keeping Krishna in mind. Everything in Goloka is done 100% keeping Krishna in mind. There is no artificial endeavor to bring Krishna into the atmosphere because they are not pretending. That is original consciousness. In Goloka, there is absolutely nothing which is artificial, and there are no distractions when you call upon Krishna's name. They do not call upon his name with distractions. There is no aparad. They do not become envious when they see that someone is much closer to Krishna than they are. They don't become envious. They don't have the quality of envy in the spiritual sky. The point which we wanted to make was that the holy names are a gift from Goloka. They don't belong here. Golokera Premadan Harinam Sankirtan. It has come down from Goloka and it does not belong to the material atmosphere. We don't belong to the material atmosphere. Then why is there such obfuscation? Why is there such barrier for us who do not belong to the material atmosphere to call upon the pure name? Why should there be such a big barrier? That is the question, and that is the dialogue which Sriman Mahaprabhu is having with Srila Haridas Thakur. He is trying to alleviate and give us clear direction as to why, when someone is intrinsically pure and does not belong to this alien environment, and the process which is calling upon the holy name, which is actually Krishna, Namanaminoho Abhinnatvam, there is no difference. When there is such a complete compatibility between these two factors of a jiva who is calling out the name and the holy names themselves, why should there be such obfuscation? Why should there be such barriers? Why should there be such difficulty and challenges for the jiva to take up the chanting of the holy names? That is a dialogue. Now let's pay attention to the dialogue. It's very important when you read Shastra to understand as to who the participants are. The participants in Harinam Cintamani are a Nitya Siddha, an eternally liberated soul, Srila Haridas Thakur, and Krishna himself. Now, these two personalities whose dialogue is being captured by another Nitya Siddha, another personality who is a part of the spiritual sky, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, gives us very clear instructions on how to remove this veil of ignorance. It's a very important dialogue because of the personalities who are involved. Say, for instance, if one wanted directions, these days everybody uses the GPS to get around wherever they want to go. But for the sake of understanding, if we were to use the regular means of walking and wanting to reach a certain direction, wanting to go and reach a certain destination, what would we do? We would try and access information about a certain destination that we want to reach from someone who is familiar with such a goal. We would want to talk to someone who has already been there. It's like many of us who first came to America, there was an attempt by us on first having dialogue with people who have already visited or staying here. Why? Because we felt that they are authorities. We felt that they would know more than we would, and it would be authentic, and they would be considered authorities. They would have adhikar, authority to speak on this confidential topic, right? So, in a similar fashion, here we have Mahaprabhu, who is the goal, and he is such a special person because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, amongst all the avatars, is the only avatar who can give Krishna Prema. No one else has Krishna Prema other than Mahaprabhu. That is why he is the only one who can give Krishna Prema. And he does not appear in every Kali Yuga. He appears once in 1,000 Kali Yugas in the day of Brahma. Okay? And that is a trillion days, trillion years, whatever the case may be. Whatever. We don't have the patience to do math when the number of years exceeds 100 years. Who cares? Keep counting. It's millions of years. And Mahaprabhu does not appear in every Kali Yuga. He appears once in 1,000 Kali Yugas in the day of Brahma. What are the chances of our being born again in the Yuga after the appearance of Mahaprabhu? And he is the only personality, the only avatar, or the only personality who can possibly give Krishna Prema because no one else has it. It is his wealth. Krishna Prema is the wealth of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu alone. Nobody else has it. Only he is capable of giving us what he has. How can you give something which you don't have? He has it, he gives it. And how did he give it? He distributed it so freely. He distributed it so freely, and that is the potency of Nitai. Lord Nityananda, when he appeared on the planet as Balaram, I was just reading some post yesterday and about a devotee, Srila Prabhupada's disciple, whose name was Duryodhana Guru Das. So quite an unusual name because Duryodhana was not quite the character you want to be named after. But then Duryodhana Guru is Balaram, where he did not even want Duryodhana to be misled. He wanted to even be the Guru of Duryodhana. He took up even Duryodhana as his disciple because he is Bola. Right? We use the word Bola for Shivji. Balaram is Bola. He is. He is quite guileless. He has absolutely nothing in his heart other than wanting to serve Krishna because he is the servitor Godhead. His servant Shivji is also Bolenath. He has absolutely nothing in his heart, clear-hearted. And what did Balaram do? He started teaching Duryodhana, and he even did not see his faults. The Guru does not see his faults. The Guru saw potential. Srila Prabhupada saw potential. Our Gurus saw potential, right? They did not see faults. If they were to really go and pick each and every fault, it would be hopeless. So Mahaprabhu handed over the whole project of being able to spread the mission of Krishna consciousness to Sri Nityananda Ram. And Sri Nityananda Ram paired up with Srila Haridas Thakur. That was the first preaching team. They had a strategy meeting, it is said, in the house of Srila Advaitacharya. They had a strategy meeting, and then they began the process of the distribution of the holy names from Surabhi Kunj, which is the abode of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Now imagine Lord Nityananda Ram, who is completely unpredictable, quite young in age, being paired with senior citizen like Srila Haridas Thakur, who was an expert preacher. But imagine this extraordinary pair on the streets of Navadvip. One cannot imagine what Srila Haridas Thakur was going through with Lord Nityananda Ram and Tau. Completely out of control, unpredictable. Sri Nityananda Ram was also known to be in divine madness at all times, completely unpredictable. And that is this Haridas Thakur, who is probably, because of his age, extraordinarily structured, and he has a lot of form in terms of everything he does. That is how old people do things, right? People who are senior, they have a tendency not to engage in any activity beyond what they think they should. But then Lord Nityananda, completely unpredictable. Who could predict what he would want to do and how he would want to do it? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made such an amazing preaching team when he first started. Very potent preaching team. So the point we wanted to make was that this is Golokera Premadan. Harinam does not belong to this material sky. Neither do we belong to this material sky, because we are alien to this environment. That is the reason for our suffering. That is the reason for our despondencies, because we don't belong here. We simply do not belong to the environment we are in. And the holy names does not belong to this environment. It is Golokera Premadan. It is completely spiritual, and it is in Goloka. So the process of our coming from completely forgetting our true eternal nature to reaching the point of being able to chant and call upon Krishna like someone who is resident in Goloka, that is the process of sadhana. First it starts with Vaidhi, and then it gets into sadhana with attachment, which is Raganuga Bhakti. The deeper attachments. We start understanding that we wanted to call upon the names with deeper attachments, with rati, with attraction, and that is Raga Bhakti. Right? Ultimately leading to the path of being able to attain Krishna Prema. So we want the consciousness and the state of being able to call upon Krishna's names as one would do so in Goloka. That is the goal of the process of chanting the holy names. Is that possible? Yes. It is 101% possible. How do we know? We know that because personalities like Sri Mahaprabhu, personalities like the associates of Sriman Mahaprabhu, personalities like our Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they are very serious, and they would not be wasting their time if they found a better process, and if they found that this process is not what it claims it is to be. It's fully possible to attain Krishna Prema as we are resident on this planet, because intrinsically our nature is to be in the spiritual sky, and the holy names belong there. There should be no ambiguity in our mind. Okay? If there is any ambiguity, understand that it is because of a crooked nature. We are crooked because we have adjusted to life on this planet. And that is the reason why we do not believe in Shastra. We have such doubts in Shastra because we are crooked. We are crooked. Shastra, Guru, Sadhu, when they speak 100% bona fide truth. But why is it that it does not get into our heart? Because we are crooked. Because we are crooked. We are offensive. Right? I was just hearing a class by Srimad Gaur Govind Maharaj, and he was talking about how a child, when he is called upon by even someone who desires to harm the child, He says, come here, I'm going to give you a chocolate or, some kind of candy. Come with me. The child would simply go. The child will not hesitate because the child is simple hearted. At least most children are simple hearted. Most children are simple hearted. And the child would not hesitate even to go to someone who can physically or cause some harm. Why? Because they are simple hearted. They are not crooked. So that's why when you give the holy names and you teach Shastra to children, they would accept Shastra as is. When they watch, let's say, any transcendental discourse, or when they watch a movie or anything related to Krishna or anything related to the pastimes of the Lord, they accept it and they are fully absorbed. But we are crooked. We have become crooked because of our existence on this planet, because we are in touch with crookedness. Kapatya is our nature. Right? This world is full of cheats and the cheated. So we have become crooked. Child is not crooked because it is simple-minded and the child is able to accept. So it is so important for us to ensure that we expose our children to Shastric truths as is and do not form any excuses in terms of what is written there. If it is written in Shastra that Sri Karanodakashai Vishnu lies on the causal ocean and then he breathes in and all the universes go into his body, he breathes out, all the universes manifest, that is truth. That is realized knowledge written by Srila Vyasadeva. There is no need for us to say to the child that there's metaphorical or anything like that. A metaphor in Shastra is also very clearly called a metaphor. But Shastra is 100% true. When you talk to children, do not imprint our own weaknesses and our own problems on the children. Talk Shastra to the children and teach them Shastra as is and tell them this is Shastra and it is 100% true because it is a fact. Just because we cannot see, it does not mean that it is not true. So we should be very careful. In fact, that is the greatest gift that one can give to children or people who are simple, is to ensure that we don't interpret what is given in the Shastra. We speak the Shastra as is. That is the reason why Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita is the most widely distributed Bhagavad Gita in the whole world, most accepted. That is the reason why Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita is the Bhagavad Gita that, when coming upon in touch with, transforms the nature of the soul. They don't become dry philosophers. They don't simply say that I read the Bhagavad Gita and I'm still confused. They go searching for a temple. Why? Because there's potency and there's truth. It's not been any cheating propensity which is coming into the translations done by Srila Prabhupada. He has just given exactly what Krishna has given. And that is the reason why when you come across literature written by Srila Prabhupada or our acharyas in the parampara, transformations begin happening. Understand that. Understand why when you come in touch with other versions, the transformations don't happen. So first of all, we have to understand that that is a specific challenge. Our specific challenge is to call upon the names of Krishna like a resident of Goloka. Our challenge is to engage in service like a resident of Goloka. Our challenge is to constantly understand that there's really nothing but Krishna. That is our challenge. And that is exactly where the whole aspect of preaching has to come in. Preaching is all about cultivating proper desires in the hearts of those who listen to us. Cultivating desires which can allow them to overpower their own karmic propensity and their other desires. Krishna acts upon aggregate desires. You see, people have good desires. Most of us have good desires and proper desires of wanting to improve. Most of us have such desires. But then why do we not improve? Why do even people with good intentions deviate? Because Krishna responds to the aggregate of our desires. There's good and there's bad, and sometimes the propensity to hurt ourselves overcomes the propensity to do what is right for ourselves. So, whole preaching, the whole of reading, the whole of being able to interact with devotees and sangha and listen to, revelations about the holy name. It's all about being able to cultivate proper desires so that we know what is reality. We know and appreciate real sambandha. This is all about being able to cultivate proper sambandha. Without sambandha, one cannot move forward, which is the real issue with the Mayavadis, which is the real issue with the Gyanis, with the others, because they don't have real sambandha. Our acharyas have already given us sambandha. How do we get sambandha? We get sambandha by shravanam. We get sambandha by shravanam. We get sambandha by reading and hearing, isn't it? Okay. I was just reading that Srila Prabhupada, when he first came here to the States, most of his disciples were the age of 19 or 20. Most. And the senior disciple was 25. And at that point in time, someone was considered to be a real scholar, Shrutidar, an expert, if he had already read, the Srimad Bhagavatam once, and he had read the Nectar of Devotion, Bhagavad Gita, and so on and so forth. Right? Which is still the most important aspect of our bhakti, is to read all our books very carefully. But the point we wanted to make was that nowadays, it's all available so easily. You have the entire collection of Srila Prabhupada's books as the Veda base. You can just sit and online, in 2 minutes, you can pinpoint which verse you want to look at. You can go and read the purport. It is so accessible. You can take the book and you can walk along in your iPad, whatever it is you use, the tablet. You can just go wherever you want and you can do that. Such wonderful contraptions are available where you're able to listen to lectures of practically anyone, going back to Srila Prabhupada. Every lecture which Srila Prabhupada gave is available. Right? So this sambandha is so important because it would allow us to be able to cultivate and shape our desires. It is going to allow us to shape our desires. So it's very important for us to have a reading habit. It is very important for us to have a listening or hearing habit. We should have fixed goals and we should be able to execute against those goals on a weekly basis. That is the real issue. The real issue is that we are not goal-oriented. Now, do we understand that our goal is to be able to call upon the names of Krishna like they do in Goloka? And for that, I have to attain the state of consciousness as they do in Goloka. Right? That is the goal. And the process of attaining such a goal is chanting the holy names. And to chant the holy names and to have the proper desires in our heart, or at least to have overwhelmingly desires to serve and move forward towards Krishna Prema, we need to read, we need to listen, because that would awaken our dormant senses, our dormant propensities. Okay? Now, that is the specific dialogue which Mahaprabhu and Srila Haridas Thakur are having. They are having a dialogue to analyze what is this particular block that exists between the Jiva and Harinam. Both are belonging to the spiritual sky. Why is it that they have such a block? That is the analysis of Harinam Cintamani. So in the first 2 chapters, we looked at the various processes. We looked at how someone can possibly come in touch with the holy names or the process of devotional service. Right? And then in this particular chapter, which is chapter 3, we study Namabhas. Abhas is a reflection or a shadow. Nama is the holy name. So we have different aspects of it. Vaishnava Abbas, there is Shraddha Abbas, and so on and so forth. But then we are specifically focused on Nama Abbas, which is what is the stage of chanting, which is before chanting the pure names. And it is a pretty extensive discussion which goes on between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Haridas Thakur, where Srila Haridas Thakur first talks about the fact that the holy names are like an extraordinarily potent sun, very powerful sun that is coming forth, but our free will and our unwanted desires act as a cloud. So we have a very powerful sun, but then we can cover our eyes by using something. For instance, you can bind yourself with a dark cloth. You can have a cloud which covers the sun, even though it's very powerful, and we make no attempt to be able to come fully in the presence of the glorious sun. So Namabaz and the discussion between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Haridas Thakur goes very deep in understanding the nature of this cloud, nature of this mist that is between us and the sun-like presence of the holy names. So Srila Haridas Thakur talks about it and says that there are three different types or varieties of the cloud-like disturbances or obfuscation that occurs between a devotee and the holy names. So he calls them a cloud, right? So three different types of anarthas, so to speak. The first type is asat trishna, being distracted by relative truths. Asat, that which is temporary. Trishna, that which is insignificant. The first type of anartha is asat trishna. The second category of cloud that covers our eyes and does not allow us to come in touch with the holy names is hridaya durbalya, which is weakness of heart. And the third type, which covers us and does not allow us to come in touch with the pure name, is aparad. Okay, three different types. So it's almost 9:04. It's almost 30 minutes. So I'm going to stop here, and in the next week's session, which is on Monday, we will go deeper into Asat Trishna, Hridaya Durbalya, and Aparad. We will also understand the different attitudes of a person in Namabas while they're chanting Namabas. So there are four different types of attitude, right? And then we will also understand the two different types of Namabas. There is Chaya and there is Pratabimba. We'll also categorize them with examples so that we completely understand this stage of confusion that exists in a jiva before the jiva comes in touch with the pure name. Okay, I want to stop here because we're going over time, and I want to see if you have any questions that I can assist you with. Okay, there is a question from Vilas Manjari Mataji. When is the process of when is the process of chanting? How exactly to chant is defined in detail. Later chapters. It comes right through. We are literally dealing with attitude. But then Srila Haridas Thakur would also go very deep into understanding the offenses. So once we take out the offenses and the proper attitude and the goal is fully understood, then the process of chanting itself becomes quite simple. How to chant is defined by Srila Prabhupada. It's a very simple way to do it. It is to hear our chanting, and he is very clear on that. He says, just hear your chanting. Chant softly and hear every syllable that you chant. If our entire focus is in being able to hear our chanting, we would gradually be able to develop and clear out anarthas. Because Shraddha is already there. It's already been given to us by the process of initiation. The Shraddha of the Guru is imprinted in our hearts. So it's already been given to us. Now when we engage in Bhajana Kriya, we need to simply follow the instructions of being able to hear whatever we chant. That was Srila Prabhupada's thrust. He said, hear attentively whatever you chant. There really is nothing more to it than that. So for the chapters, we're going to refine it. We're going to refine our attitude as to what is it which prevents us from hearing? What is it which prevents us from chanting? What is there when we chant? Why is the mind filled with all kinds of nonsense while we chant? We'll be dealing with it. And we'll also be trying to assist by providing specific tools which would help one manage the process better. Okay, I'm going to wait for one more minute and I'm going to say Hare Krishna. What I would recommend is that you have your questions ready as we speak. Ajay Govind Prabhu. How can we cultivate a childlike attitude so that we can accept the holy names? How can we cultivate a childlike attitude? If you want to become humble, you read about people who are humble. If you want to become valorous, you read about people who have exhibited valor. You really want to cultivate humility and simple attitudes, read about Srila Prahalad Maharaj. So simple. Read constantly about Dhruva Maharaj. Mahaprabhu did not waste his days in doing anything else. He used to request that people constantly share their realizations on Dhruva Charita and Prahalad Charita. Why? Because the children, Dhruva and Prahalada, exhibited determination, they exhibited deep faith, and all of this was possible because of the simple attitude. When we keep reading it, we would also develop a need. You see, what I have observed personally is that there are two different levels of issues. One is that which obstructs us from at the level of the mind, and that which obstructs us at the level of the intelligence, the brain. If something occurs, something that occurs in the heart and something that occurs in the mind. Sorry, forgive me to rephrase. If something occurs in the heart, then that requires some real introspection and cleaning because that has impacted our chitta. We have come in touch with something and it has impacted our chitta. Similarly, something occurs in the mind, it is much easier to remove. You just have to chant and it will go away. So what is it that we need to do to cultivate a simple attitude? Observe the simple attitude as shared in Shastra. Observe the personality of Dhruva. Observe the personality of Shri Prahlad Maharaj. Okay. Shri Narad Muni requested Dhruva to chant, and he told him, "You chant and Krishna will appear." Dhruva did not question. Right? Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj did not question Shri Narad Muni. He began chanting. The moment he said, "You should chant, Krishna will appear, Krishna will protect," no questions. So keep reading about them and chant, and you would also be able to cultivate, or we would be able to cultivate simplicity like a child, because we would constantly be imprinting our chitta with impressions of these great personalities, and we would be able to make progress. Hope that answers your question. So, Shafi Mataji's question is, how much time does it take to get out of Anartha Nivritti stage? It's a gradual process, but as I shared earlier, Srila Prabhupada said that one can rid themselves of all the nonsensical obstacles and move further in just one moment if they have Shraddha. It is a gradual process. Not to discourage or set parameters for others, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that we would take 3 lifetimes for us to obtain Krishna Prema. First lifetime, Anartha Nivritti. Second lifetime, clearing stage. Third lifetime, Prema. Okay? But that need not be our goal. We should 101% assume and work with that in mind, that Srila Prabhupada has already made all the arrangements for us to go back, and it is fully possible for us to chant and go back in one lifetime. Okay? Okay. So I guess those will be the questions. If there are any other questions, please post below the lecture on sandini.com. This would allow us to contribute, and you can also contribute. Whoever else wants to contribute can also contribute. There's no restriction. It will also allow us to contribute. Okay. So thank you so much for joining me this afternoon, this evening, and we will again see you on Monday. And happy chanting, as they would say. Hare Krishna.